On the morning I got married, my phone vibrated just as the stylist was pinning my veil in place. One message. From my mother. Don't wait for anyone. No explanation, no emojis, just that. My name is Emma Reynolds. I was 30 years old, standing in a white gown inside a cliffside venue overlooking the Pacific in Northern California. And at first, I actually laughed. It felt absurd. Who sends something like that minutes before their daughter walks down the aisle? I told myself she was being dramatic, that my family would arrive late, flustered, apologizing as the music swelled and the doors opened. But the music did start. The doors did open, and the entire right side of the ceremony space, the side reserved for my family, was empty. Rows of untouched chairs, neatly placed programs, roses scattered on seats no one claimed. No mother, no father, no siblings, no relatives. I kept walking anyway. I locked my eyes on the man waiting for me at the altar and pretended my chest wasn't collapsing inward every time I noticed the hollow space where my family should have been. We exchanged vows, smiled for photos, cut the cake like nothing was wrong. Everything was wrong. Later that night, barefoot in my wedding dress, heels abandoned in the corner of the suite, I finally checked my phone again. That's when I saw it. A brand new Instagram post from my aunt. A group photo on a private beach in Kauai. My parents, my brother, cousins, everyone dressed in coordinated white linen, holding cocktails under palm trees. The caption read, "Always us, family forever." I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Then I sent my mother 2 words. Perfect timing. That was the exact moment I stopped trying to earn my place in their family and started taking my power back. 3 days later, my mother was screaming outside my apartment door, and I was calmly sipping coffee at my kitchen table. They thought skipping my wedding was the worst thing they could do to me. They had no idea it was just the beginning. I didn't cry that night. I didn't throw anything. I sat quietly on the edge of the hotel bed, veil discarded, makeup streaked, phone glowing in my hand. My husband, Mark Bennett, sat beside me, still in his dress shirt, tie loosened, jacket tossed over a chair. "Do you want to call her?" he asked gently. Instead, I showed him the photo, the one from Hawaii, the caption bragging about family loyalty. My mother, Elaine Reynolds, had spent my entire engagement sneering that Mark was just a public school teacher with no future. The same woman had flown to a luxury resort on my wedding day to sip cocktails and pose for pictures. Elaine loved to tell people she built Reynolds and Stone Living from nothing with my father. What she never mentioned was me. I was the one fixing accounting errors at midnight, the one smoothing things over with banks when payroll almost bounced. I was the one quietly becoming the signature every lender trusted. My official title was CFO. In reality, I was the firewall between them and disaster. Years ago, because my mother hated paperwork and contracts, she signed joint authority and power of attorney over most business and family accounts to me. Temporary, she said. It never was. I had been their safety net for years. That night, staring at the Hawaii photo, something finally clicked. If I could keep them afloat, I could also let them sink. I opened my laptop. Mark watched silently as I logged into the corporate banking portal. Account by account, card by card, I made changes. Corporate cards suspended, personal access revoked, family investment fund frozen, automatic transfers paused. I emailed our bank manager, someone who'd watched me save my parents more times than he could count, and told him I was initiating a full review. No charges without my approval. Mark tried to lighten the mood. "So this is what happens when the CFO snaps." "This is what happens," I replied calmly, "when I stopped cleaning up their mess." That night we ate leftover wedding cake in bed. I cried for 10 minutes, for the wedding, for the years of disrespect, for the version of family I'd kept hoping would show up. Then my phone lit up. Group chat, Reynolds family. Anyone else's card not working? My hotel charge was declined. What's wrong with the business account? I turned the phone face down and went to sleep. 3 days later, Seattle was drenching in gray rain when someone began pounding on my apartment door like it owed them money. I knew who it was before she spoke. "Emma, open this door right now." I took a slow sip of coffee and opened it. Elaine burst inside, still sun-kissed from Hawaii, gold jewelry flashing, fury radiating off her. "What did you do?" she demanded. "The accounts are frozen." She didn't ask about the wedding, didn't apologize. She ranted about declined cards, embarrassed hotel managers, having to use her personal credit card like a normal person. I let her finish. "You chose a beach over my wedding," I said evenly. "So yes, I know exactly what I did." She scoffed. "It was one day. You're overreacting. My wedding is not a minor inconvenience, and you booked that trip after the save-the-dates went out." She pointed at me. "You owe us loyalty. Loyalty doesn't mean letting you walk all over me." She threatened. I opened the door. "You chose Hawaii," I said quietly. "Now you get to pay for it." She stormed out, promising I'd regret it. I didn't. Within 24 hours, the fallout began. My brother Ethan panicked when his restaurant funding vanished. My aunt complained about her card being declined at a department store. Vendors demanded upfront payments. Loans stalled. Emails that used to intercept piled up untouched. Then came a call from an old business advisor. He offered me something my parents never had: an exit. I sold my stake. Clean, legal, final. When my parents tried legal threats, my lawyer laughed. When they tried emotional manipulation, I didn't respond. When they tried to make my marriage negligible, I walked away. The last thing I ever saw from them was a family video call I joined silently. They blamed each other, blamed me, blamed the world. No apologies, no accountability. I closed the laptop. That was it. Months later, my grandmother's trust, one my parents never knew about, was released to me. She'd built it to protect me from them. Mark and I bought a small home. We hosted friends who showed up. We built a life that didn't require permission. My parents lost stores, lost status, lost control. I didn't destroy them. I simply stopped saving them. And that changed everything. By the end of that first week, the silence from my family disappeared completely. It was replaced by panic. My phone didn't just buzz anymore, it screamed. Missed calls stacked on top of each other like warning sirens. Text messages shifted from confused to angry to desperate in a matter of hours. The first to crack was my brother, Ethan. "Emma, this isn't funny. The bank says the investment account is frozen. I already told people the restaurant deal was done." 5 minutes later, "Seriously, I have a meeting with the landlord in Austin tomorrow." Then the email arrived, from the same loan officer who had once praised my financial planning skills. "Due to recent changes in collateral status, final approval has been paused." Translation: no money, no restaurant, no safety net. By lunchtime, my Aunt Lydia called, her voice sharp and embarrassed. "Something's wrong with the system," she insisted. "My Reynolds card was declined at Nordstrom in front of everyone. I told them you'd fix it." I didn't feel that familiar rush of guilt, the one that usually sent me scrambling to solve everything. "The cards are under review," I said calmly. "I can't turn them back on." She huffed. "You can't punish the whole family because your mother missed your little ceremony." Little. That word landed like ice water. By evening, the business emails started coming in, ones I'd spent years making sure my parents never saw. Warehouse rent bounced, utility shut-off warnings, vendors demanding upfront payment. For years, I'd quietly stopped those fires before smoke ever reached them. Now I watched the inbox fill. I didn't intervene. That night, my phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in years. "Emma," the voice said warmly, "it's Richard Hale." Richard had been in business with my parents since before I was born. He'd watched me grow from a kid doing homework in conference rooms into the person actually holding everything together. "I'll be honest," he said, "your mother is telling people you've gone rogue." I smiled faintly. "I'm just doing what I was authorized to do." A pause, then a low chuckle. "That's what I thought. Off the record, people know who really runs that company, and they're noticing your absence." He told me about a regional brand looking to expand, North Shore Collective. They weren't interested in my parents' name. They wanted my systems, my structure, my brain. They'd buy your shares outright, even if you walk away completely. A clean break. When I told Mark, he didn't rush me. "If you do this," he said gently,
they'll say you betrayed them." I replied, "They already did." So I signed. The next 2 weeks felt surreal. Lawyers, contracts, quiet meetings that didn't include shouting or guilt. For the first time, every clause protected me. When the deal closed, the money landed in an account that had my name on it, and only my name. Meanwhile, my parents spiraled. They called, they sent long emails, they tried shame, then nostalgia, then threats. I stopped responding. Instead, I took on small freelance consulting work, the kind I actually enjoyed. Mark and I started spending weekends hiking, eating sandwiches on park benches, talking about things that had nothing to do with money or crisis. The more distance I put myself from them, the lighter everything felt. 2 weeks later, the tone shifted again. This time, it came disguised as reason. I was working in a coffee shop when a man in a tailored blazer stopped at my table. "Is this Emma Reynolds?" he asked. It was Paul Turner, one of my father's longtime financial advisors. He sat down without asking. "Your parents thought a neutral voice might help," he said carefully. I nodded. "Go on." "They know mistakes were made," he began carefully. "They're willing to make changes, bring you back with more authority, better compensation." I waited. He cleared his throat. "There is one concern. Your husband." There it was. "They feel," Paul continued, "that Mark doesn't fit the image they're trying to restore. Investors notice these things." I closed my laptop. "So the offer is," I said slowly, "money and control if I reconsider my marriage." "No one said divorce," he rushed. "Just reevaluating priorities." I stood. "Tell my parents I already chose, and I won't sell my life for their reputation." As I walked out, Paul called after me that I was being emotional. For the first time in my life, that wasn't an insult. That night, Ethan emailed me. The subject line read, "Can we reset?" The first paragraph sounded almost apologetic. The second asked me to unfreeze the fund just long enough for his restaurant. I replied once. I told him I wished him success, but I wouldn't be financing family dreams anymore. The explosion came the next morning. A certified legal letter, vague threats, big words meant to scare me. My lawyer laughed. "They don't want court," he said, "because discovery would be brutal." 2 days later, the loan tied to my mother's luxury SUV finally removed my name. The car was repossessed that week. Someone posted a photo online. The caption read, "Tough season." I felt nothing.
I didn't expect closure to arrive loudly. There was no dramatic apology, no tearful family reunion, no moment where everyone suddenly understood what they'd done. It came quietly, through distance, consequences, and the slow collapse of the image my parents had protected more fiercely than their own daughter. About a month after I stopped answering their calls, I got a notification I almost ignored. Family Strategy Call, 7 p.m. It was an old company's Zoom link I technically still had access to. Curiosity got the better of me. I joined with my camera off and my mic muted. One by one, the faces appeared. My parents sat stiffly in their living room, the room that used to be staged for magazine photos and charity meetings, now dim and oddly bare. My brother Ethan looked exhausted, older than I remembered, and Aunt Lydia clutched a wine glass like a lifeline. They didn't know I was there. They talked over each other immediately. My father blamed my mother for choosing Hawaii. My mother cried and insisted she was the real victim. Ethan accused everyone of abandoning him when he needed support. Not once did anyone say my name with regret. Then my mother said it. "She'll come back," she scoffed. "She always does. Emma's soft." Something inside me settled completely. I closed the laptop. That was the moment I knew I was done. Not angry, not hurt, just finished. 2 weeks later, Reynolds and Stone Living announced the closure of one of its Arizona locations. The press release called it a strategic consolidation. Locals called it what it was. Employees started talking. Customers remembered. Someone commented under a news article, "Didn't these people skip their daughter's wedding for a vacation?"
Another added, "Guess karma doesn't take holidays." I hadn't told the story publicly. I didn't need to. The truth has a way of traveling on its own when enough people have seen the damage firsthand. Around that time, I received a call from a bank in Houston. "Ms. Reynolds," the woman said, "we're reaching out regarding a trust established by Margaret Collins, my grandmother, the only person in my family who ever sat through my school plays, who asked how I felt instead of how I performed. She'd created the trust years earlier, quietly, carefully. It had one condition. I had to be financially independent from the family business for 2 consecutive years. I'd met it. The banker asked if I wanted her to read the attached note. I said yes. My grandmother's words filled the kitchen. If they ever choose pride over you, I want you to have a way out. Build something they can't control. Don't look back unless it's to be proud of how far you walked." I cried, not from grief, but relief. For the first time, I hadn't been left without a safety net. It just never belonged to my parents. That trust, combined with my consulting income and the share sale, became the down payment on a modest craftsman house outside Portland, Oregon. No family names, no expectations, just mine and Mark's. We signed the papers on a clear afternoon, stood in the empty living room imagining a future that felt light instead of heavy. Updates still trickled in. My parents sold the Florida vacation house. My father quietly resigned from 2 local boards. Ethan picked up part-time work to cover bills. People stopped calling them powerful. They started calling them difficult. I didn't celebrate. I breathed. Healing didn't happen all at once. It showed up in small moments. A Saturday morning with no crisis emails. Burnt pancakes and bad music in our kitchen. Friends who showed up with folding chairs and cheap beer because they wanted to, not because of optics. At one point during a backyard get-together, someone bumped our wedding photo and straightened it. It was perfect. No Parkers, no empty chairs, no pretending. I still hear things occasionally. Gossip travels, it always does. People ask if I feel guilty. The answer is no. I grieved the family I thought I had, the one I kept trying to earn by being useful, obedient, invisible. But guilt? That was their tool. I put it down. I didn't ruin their lives. I just stopped sacrificing mine to hold theirs together. Family isn't a title, it's behavior. And love doesn't demand you disappear so someone else can look important. My mother thought skipping my wedding would be a footnote. 3 days later, she was screaming outside my door, because for the first time in my life, I didn't open it just because she knocked. I built something better on the other side. And honestly, that's the only family forever I need.